In 1968, British Railways scrapped the last of its steam locomotives. Everybody said the age of steam was dead, but reports of its demise have been greatly exaggerated.
George V is a 1/8 scale model of a Great Western King locomotive. She came into us for refurbishment from Los Angeles, of all places. We've spent the last couple of years completely rebuilding her. We've put new wheels, new axles, new boilers, just about everything really onto the chassis. Hopefully we're at the final steaming stage, ready to send it back to Trade Mountain in LA.
So she's going back to America?
She's going back to America, yeah. The owner lives in California.
Obviously a wealthy man.
Very wealthy man, yeah. I think he's fair to say he's a multi-millionaire property developer.
Why did he choose you, Mark, to do this?
He'd heard a bit of our reputation and various people had sort of pointed him our way, and he ended up here on our doorstep. Which kind of suggests that you're up in the world leaders of this kind of field.
I suppose on that sort of fine engineering we are. We do quite a lot of traction engine work and steamboat work as well, so we're quite well known in a sort of small industry.
The drain cocks need reseating. We need a new gasket in that flange there, and a couple of jobs on the fusible plug inside the boiler. Hopefully all will be well.
The father and son, Keith and Mark, getting the Great Northern Steam Company to this point has meant travelling a long and sometimes risky road.
I basically worked in the R&D department at the local university down in Teesside. Redundancies came along. I was already doing this as a hobby. Various people gave me commissions to do more of them, and I thought, well, there's obviously business out there, so we took it.
It came about because, for one, I was out of work at the time, but spending my time relearning my engineering skills. When my son Mark had a great interest in steam, he also was about to lose his job, so we decided to turn our hobby into a business.
The traction engines was where I originally started. I've always been interested in traction engines. We're not a traction engine family, but we are a railway family. So I suppose the steam thing was always there, but I was always interested in traction engines. So I built traction engines for my own pleasure as a hobby. They sort of drew other people in, and I suppose there's a big market in traction engines because you don't need a track.
So what kind of people spend thousands of pounds on engines like this?
Your average customer is usually either a professional or a business person who prefers this to, say, a boat or a car. And I think these tend to hold the money better, so they're also bought as a sort of toy stroke investment.
But Keith and Mark don't just build model steam engines. They just landed a contract to build a G5, a standard gauge, full-size branch line engine. These are its bogie frames. Following on from the successful Tornado project, it shows that Darlington, as a builder of railway locomotives, is back in business.
The G5 project, like everything, I sometimes call our organisation a bit of a dream factory, because we do make people's dreams come true, really. We make big boys' toys. Now then, we're about to make the big boy's biggest toy, which is a G5 locomotive. And that's brought about by one man, who happens to be a doctor in Durham, having the dream that he would like to own and run a full-size standard gauge railway locomotive.
It's a massive job because we're designing it from original works drawings. We're a small company. Obviously, our capacity, machining capacity, is expanding steadily. The G5 design work, we've got a team headed by Keith and other designers working with us as sort of subcontractors and volunteers effectively to actually bring the thing to life.
For Mark, it's a labour of love. For the men who are each putting £50,000 into the £400,000 project, it's much more than the ultimate indulgence.
This would be a very great success. I think it would be very popular, and we hope to have the locomotive out to local heritage railways, Weardale, Wensleydale, North York Moors, and I think we're very popular with the public.
What about the future? Any more standard gauge engines on the way?
Well, the consortium are already talking about other standard gauge engines. There is interest in other standard gauge engines, and I think that's probably the way we'll go as a specialist in building standard gauge engines, because there's nobody else.
And we thought the age of steam was dead.
Well, certainly not here.
Passionate people, of that there's no question, but overgrown schoolboys with an extremely expensive hobby, maybe. It's worth asking ourselves the question though, with the fuel crisis likely to get worse over the coming years, could this just be a glimpse of our future?